For millennia, we searched the night sky, wondering what lies out there. But our telescopes could only take us so far. As the light of the universe has traveled to reach us, its way is blocked in its final mile by the blurring effects of our atmosphere. Astronomers finally realized their loftiest ambition: to capture the pristine light of the universe with a fleet of telescopes positioned in space. Hubble, Compton, Chandra, Spitzer. These great observatories have propelled us into a golden age of astronomy. And yet, the light from the fabled Hubble Space Telescope is now fading. Can it be fixed with a new kind of extraterrestrial grease monkey? Robots equipped with wrenches and computer brains? Or will it take a new spirit of human ingenuity and a daring rescue in space?
To get gloves on. Lowell, do you need help?
February 2003. 6 astronauts monitored their instruments as the Space Shuttle Columbia descended into the atmosphere. Columbia had already flown 28 times since its first launch in 1981.
Columbia, Houston, comm check.
No one expected the tragedy that now unfolded.
I was not reporting any RF at this time.
Columbia, Houston, UHF, comm check.
Investigators would later conclude that Columbia's wing had been punctured on launch. The spacecraft failed under the intense heat of re-entry and broke up over the western United States. The loss of the Columbia crew was a terrible human tragedy, but it seemed to promise a scientific one as well. Columbia was scheduled to carry the 5th servicing mission to the Hubble Space Telescope and to extend the telescope's life by a whole decade. The disaster placed the safety of this mission in doubt. NASA began to make plans to guide Hubble back to Earth and a watery grave in the Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, scientists unveiled Hubble's latest triumph, the deepest portrait of the universe ever made.
This is Hubble's day. I'm so excited to look at this picture and know that, Steve, when I look at you and the world and Hubble, may the force continue to be with us.
Hubble's supporters called on NASA to keep it going.
There's just no reason to shoot a high-performing thoroughbred right at the peak of its powers. This is a time we want to keep Hubble going. So yes, I think it would be a tragedy if we don't service Hubble.
But how? Some engineers see a chance to propel NASA into a whole new era of space exploration. If humans aren't going to repair Hubble, then perhaps a robot can. To find out, NASA has turned to a robotic arm developed for the International Space Station.
The Hubble Robotic Servicing Mission is a pioneering first step in the use of robotics in space to perform assemblies and repair work. And this is the kind of technology that's going to be needed for space exploration.
They can't test the arm in space, so they use the next best environment, an immense water tank, normally used to train astronauts. Here at the University of Maryland, engineers have submerged a full-scale model of Hubble. They are making sure a prototype of the robot can maneuver large telescope components. From a control room, they use joysticks to guide it. Eventually, the robot will guide itself, and the operators will step in only to keep it on track.
I can see it there in the monitor, right?
To monitor the action, the team has focused an array of cameras on the scene, including one with a mind of its own. Scamp, as it's called, becomes the operator's roving eyes. It can hover in close, searching for the best viewing angles. Meanwhile, the human operators will remain in the comfort of Earth's gravity. These engineers believe that robots can handle a range of precision tasks, as they have in so many areas of manufacturing. Others aren't so sure.
We have demonstrated an ability to service Hubble using astronauts. We have not demonstrated a capability to service Hubble using a robot. If you're going to service Hubble to maintain its scientific capability, what's the right way to do it? Do it with astronauts.
Should astronauts be sent up to repair Hubble, or can a robot do the job? The answers may lie in accounts of previous missions to Hubble. In 1990, astronauts placed the telescope in orbit 200 miles above the Earth. Its mirror was designed to produce images 100 times sharper than the best telescopes on the ground. Then, disaster struck. A flaw in Hubble's optics impaired its vision. The largest investment ever in astronomy, nearly $2 billion, seemed utterly lost in space.
People were talking about the problems with Hubble as potentially being the end of big science. That this proved that we had reached the limits of complexity and what we could do. We shouldn't even try to do things like this. Look at all of these resources that we put in, and it's a big flop.
3 years later, astronauts returned to Hubble's side. The nation looked on as they undertook painstaking repairs against seemingly impossible odds. Within weeks, the suspense was rewarded with images of breathtaking clarity.
One of the really inspiring things about Hubble was the connection between the telescope and the extraordinary science that it did and manned spaceflight. Seeing these astronauts take the telescope up on the shuttle and then seeing them in subsequent servicing missions, going out there and placing hands on the telescope showed us what is possible to do with manned presence in space.
Few know that astronauts were called yet again to rescue Hubble, this time to stave off a truly catastrophic failure. The story of this emergency mission has seldom been heard. Hubble focuses on objects millions, even billions of light years away, capturing light that began its journey in the distant past. To pinpoint objects so far away, Hubble is equipped with 6 gyroscopes. Astronaut Steve Smith has an intimate knowledge of Hubble's anatomy.
The gyroscopes in Hubble do the same thing that your internal gyroscopes do. It tells you what direction you're facing, if you're laying down, if you're standing up. Hubble's gyroscopes tell it which way it's pointing.
January of 1999. Engineers discover that 3 of the Hubble's 6 gyroscopes are not functioning. If a telescope goes off balance, it will shut down. For the scientists, any lost research time is a frightening prospect. So NASA managers began plans to accelerate Hubble's servicing schedule. Then, disaster strikes. The 4th gyroscope goes down, and Hubble goes dark. Officially, Hubble is declared to be in safe mode, asleep. In fact, the telescope's problems are deepening. Hubble relies on the sun